Hello everyone, welcome to the new video. I'm really glad to have you here today. It was New Year's Eve in 1993. Me and some of my friends, four boys and four girls in total, got into my van and drove from California to Mammoth Mountain. Our goal was to spend a few days skiing, partying, and having fun there. A special and vague but powerful feeling from inside kept telling me that I shouldn't go on this trip. It even seemed that this inner voice was asking me strongly, but still I didn't listen to it and justified it to myself in various ways that it's not a big deal. There was a lot of snow in the mountains and the conditions were ideal for skiing. Many friends had come and beautiful girls. Lots of parties and fun were waiting for us there, and I was not willing to miss all of that. We spent the first day there skiing. At night, we joined a number of other friends who came in separate teams and went from one party to another. That familiar feeling once again warned me from inside and more forcefully not to leave the cabin. It was very important that I stayed in the cabin and didn't go out with my friends. I had an undeniable feeling that something big was going to happen that night and I wasn't going back to the cabin. But all these warnings couldn't dissuade me. At this point in my life, I had yet to learn what the Spirit of God was, let alone trust and follow it. I had a strange feeling of inner knowing and wisdom that was trying to guide me from within. Only if I listened to it, but it was not very pleasant to listen to. This feeling tried to stop me from doing some things or things and seemed to be looking for a different plan for my life. I have to admit that at that time I had discovered by accident that whenever I listen to my inner voice, everything goes well and the result is positive. But when I don't follow it, usually failure and a very unpleasant result await me. However, that wasn't enough to convince me to follow my gut that night. I was used to ignoring this feeling because it usually conflicted with my fun and pastimes. My friends and I left the cabin for a night full of party and fun. We used to go from one party to another and we had a lot of alcohol and different drugs with us. I had taken too much of all this and was completely drunk and out of my mind. The more I drank and smoked, the less I felt that inner feeling that told me that a bad accident was waiting for me. But this feeling never completely disappeared. I vaguely felt that a countdown to the last minutes of my life was going on. We headed to the next party. There was a lot of snow on the sidewalks, and we had to walk on the side of the street. At that time, there was a big fight between several people on one side of the street, which caught my attention. At the same time, a car slipped on the ice on the road, and while it was out of control, it came speeding towards us. The others realized it in time and quickly moved out of its way. Who was engrossed in watching the fight didn't realize it in time and the car hit me. I hit the hood and windshield of the car and was thrown into the air and landed behind the car on the ice on the road. The car also fled the scene of the accident. As soon as the car hit me, I felt that my mind was violently separated from my body and I felt it all over my body. I felt like I was passing through the car. I could feel the fear and anxiety of its occupants. I chased the car for a bit, but then I found myself standing over my body, which was lying on the street and bleeding. Very soon I realized that my body was completely injured and hurt, and this was probably the end of the line. I looked around and was curious as to what fate awaited me. I saw people gathered around my body. After a while, a person who knew first aid came forward from the crowd and started working on my body while trying to revive me. But he didn't seem to have any success. With each passing moment, my worry increased that my body will probably not survive. My body is dead, and there is no going back. I started walking down the street, thinking hard about my situation. I immediately noticed a few things about myself. One is that I looked at my body and my hands and feet and saw that they looked exactly as before death. I even wore the same clothes that I wore before I died. I crossed my hands and saw that I could feel my hands. I put my hand on my face and ran my fingers through my hair. Everything seemed to be the same as before I died. My soul had the same feeling of a body and the weight of a body. But there were also significant differences. Now I felt completely sober, and there was no more drunkenness and confusion caused by alcohol and drugs in me. I felt healthier and more alive than ever. I realized that the weather was very cold, but I didn't feel cold at all. I could see my spiritual body, but my vision also passed through my body, as if I had a body and I didn't. Most importantly, my pronoun was the usual pronoun. I was still me, and I had all my memories and everything with me, even though I was separated from my body. I also noticed memories and perceptions that I didn't have in the world. Memories about very important goals, promises, plans, and other commitments that I had accepted. But I hadn't fulfilled them yet. My mind was full of knowledge and awareness. All this knowledge was pouring into me like a slap in the face. Yet somehow I was able to absorb and understand it just as quickly. I could understand and remember at the same time. I could remember that there was still so much to do. The relationships I had with my loved ones before I was born, many of whom I hadn't even met in my earthly life. But I was going to meet them in the future. A whole life was already planned for me, which I never followed. All this hit me hard and was very heavy for me. I had planned with relatives and friends before coming into the world, and I had a special mission that I had to fulfill. My worldly life was for doing this mission, not for endless parties and fun. Everything was very clear to me now, but I was mourning and regretting the loss of this opportunity. I knew that my mission was very important. Many people were connected and affected by my mission, a mission that only I could do. The majesty and heinousness of this situation and its weight were falling on me with more and more intensity. It was as if the fate of many souls depended on me succeeding in my mission and reaching the predetermined goals. Very important people and programs depended on me, but I failed in my mission. I knew this very well. I hadn't fulfilled my promise and I had not achieved any of these achievements I was supposed to achieve. There was no future for me, and this door was closed for me. I could see all this very clearly. I was mourning and regretting how such a grand plan and a plan that was laid out for me and my loved ones was nullified and sterile due to my careless decisions and actions. Now it was left to others, provided they could be informed of this new mission, and there was enough time in the world for them to do it. I was shown that many people would be hurt by my failure. In addition, things and programs will now change and get a new organization. Steps will be taken to help those negatively affected, but I will not have a role in this program and new plan. Realizing this, my heart sank in my chest, realizing the tremendous negative impact I had left on myself and others, and that there was no hope left. My feeling was the painful feeling of a damned and a hellish soul. I begged God to get me out of this situation, but there was no way out. I remembered all the guidance and many opportunities that had been given to me, how God had intervened in my life many times. I was suddenly by the fact that not only had I not done what was entrusted to me, but I had not even taken a step in the way of laying the foundations and preparations for it. I remembered how the truth had been so clearly shown to me, but I had never decided to act on it. When I was a child, aspects of the church and religion were mysterious and difficult for me, while the people around me didn't have the right answer. But I had allowed the ignorance of these people to stop me from pursuing what I knew was right. But no more excuses were useful. I should have followed the truth within myself. Besides, later, when I became older and mature, I didn't pursue it even though I could. At this point in my life, there was no one to stop me. But my life was full of parties and fun, and I wasn't ready to change it. Change was hard, and making excuses was easy. And a world of denial. Although there was many questions and doubts about the church for me, these were more like excuses and excuses for me than they were the real cause. But I never completely forgot about inner guidance, and I always thought that one day I would eventually turn to it. But every day that passed, I felt that I was getting further and further away from the guidance. My life was completely off track, and I was moving in the exact opposite direction of my guidance. But the truth was under the surface all these years, and it couldn't be denied. My spirit returned and stood over my lifeless body while the person was still giving me artificial respiration and working on my body. I remembered all my bad decisions and many things I swore I would never do again, but I had done them again. No other excuses mattered. Despite all the challenges and hardships that my life had started with, I knew that I had been given everything I needed to succeed and achieve my life goals. I had access to all the inner abilities I needed to exceed, but I had used them in just the wrong way. I couldn't shake the feeling of complete failure to fulfill my life goals and fulfill the commitments I had made before I was born. It was there that I fell on my knees and cried loudly to God. I was completely unable to change this situation. The weight of the feeling of all the spirits that I had caused to defeat was crushing my soul, and the pain was unbearable for me. In this moment of helplessness, I remembered all the times that God had saved me in the past. I felt ashamed, but I knew what to do. I put all my faith and focus and connected with him because he was the only one who could save me. Suddenly, my feeling of loneliness and helplessness disappeared. At that moment, I remember being taken from there to another place, but I can't remember exactly what else happened. I only vaguely remember going somewhere where I met several beings and was given instructions. But I remember that this knowledge was deliberately hidden from me so that I would be reminded at the right time in the future. My next memory is that the beings allowed me to come back and I was given another chance. But I was told that this time things would be very different. I can't go back to the way I used to live. I will be different and I will not be the same as before. I was told that there will be even more challenges waiting for me to overcome, but I am capable of it. Plus, I will be helped. I was told that I would never be alone and that there would always be a companion by my side to guide me. I suddenly returned to my body due to the accident. I had a brain hemorrhage and brain surgery was performed on me and my body was in the recovery room. I approached my body from above and interned it from the forehead area. The feeling of the body was cold and unpleasant and I was completely confused. Gradually, my senses returned to me, and I felt an extraordinary pain in my whole body. Little by little, all my mind and memories came back to me. I remembered that recurring and haunting feeling that was trying to stop me from going on this trip. And then the next recurring and undeniable inner feeling that warned me that night of certain and imminent danger. And finally, come on. I got the final warning that told me if you go out tonight, you won't come home. I couldn't shake the feeling of regret that I had been warned about. I could have avoided all of this, but I hadn't heeded those warnings. I was responsible for all this. I really should have started and listened to that inner voice. If I was given another chance to feel its inspiration. The feeling of knowing this event before it happened was haunting to me. Where did this feeling come from? This was not the first time. Many times throughout my life, I had been warned from within about impending events. Sometimes in the form of dreams, sometimes in the form of images, sometimes in fleeting and sudden internal reflections. But most important of all was the very serious warning that I had received from extraterrestrial being before entering my body. Your life will be different from before. You will be different. You will not be allowed to live the way you used to live. You have to work on your relationship with God. You will be helped. When I woke up, I still wasn't sure what all this meant, but I knew I would soon.